I got the awards, got the bonuses, the promotions. I looked really good, but on the inside, it was just like a hot mess.
So what exactly really helped you to become present and perhaps see for yourself that the next step would be just...
Your body will keep telling you the truth until you listen. And it's like a compounding thing.
Yeah, so I feel like we have to know that the biggest cheerleader and advocate here for me is myself.
It's okay. Like you don't have to stay in that choice, but you do have to make a choice.
You could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here.
Hello everyone! Today we're meeting Laura Dionisio. She is a Purposeful Career Transition Coach and the founder of Lead Intact, where she helps high performers to really step into careers and lives that fully aligned with their heart and their vision. Hello Laura, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So let's start the conversation by really letting our listeners know that this is a second time we're recording the episode. The first time was almost 3 years ago. That's when Intern Podcast just started, and she was one of the first guests on my podcast. And we would like to really hear some background, some recap of where you were back then, your background, your story, and where are you going now? So what changed, and perhaps some kind of pivotal moment that you can elaborate on that helped you to realize your true passion in life.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back 3 years just because it is to me a little crazy that like, wow, we're here. It's been 3 years. So many things have happened. So going back 3 years ago when I first met Anna, I had just started Lean Intact, but at the time I was working in corporate, and Lead Intact was more like a passion project because I was in engineering at that time for 15 years and very much career driven, very much career oriented. And somewhere along the way, I realized, okay, I am getting really burnt out. What am I pursuing performance for? And I kind of had like a reckoning within myself at that time. So this was like at this point, like around 11 years ago. And that's really what started my inner journey. I've always been on the outside. Like I got the awards, got the bonuses, the promotions. I looked really good, but on the inside, it was just like a hot mess. And around 11 years ago is when I really took the time to sit down and ask myself, like, what is happening? What's happening here? Because I don't feel good. Shouldn't I feel good? Like I'm looking at all these awards on my walls and like degrees I have, and like I don't feel good. And at that point, that's when I started really investigating like my inner world. I didn't even know that term at that time. And I got really into it. That's how I found the adult chair, which ultimately is what I chose to get certified in. And that was like a huge pivot for me, because imagine somebody who's always been about climbing the corporate ladder, somebody who was always about like, again, I was in engineering, always about like, how do I get smarter? Do I go into management, or do I, become, and it was really the first choice, very uncomfortable choice, where I decided to invest something in myself, both time and money, for something that didn't make sense, quote unquote, right? Because I was just like, because at that time, I still cared very much about my career. I'm like, what am I going to do with a life coaching certification? But there was just something in me like a voice telling me, yes, do this. And it was really the first time I really listened and took action. And so got certified. And even then, I was still very career driven. I decided this is going to be my passion project, right? It's just going to be like on the side. So the time I met Anna, this was just a side project. It very meaningful to me, especially because my niche still career related. Cause again, I'm very passionate about it. I really felt called to work with people, primarily women who have been in their field for a long time and they feel stuck. And maybe they were like me, feeling burned out no matter what job they went to. And they're just like, enough. Like, I just can't do this anymore. So I began coaching, and it was, you know, just a side thing. I had one or two clients, but that's about it. I didn't really do much to expand the business because I had it in my mind that no, the career is the thing I've been spending so much time on, so much money on. Like, I must, I must do it. And it felt right until it didn't. You know what I mean, Anna? It's like, and then, and I, it's funny because I work with clients on this all the time. But of course, I wouldn't be the coach that I am if I didn't go through my own journey and growth and all that. And I kind of like took a page out of my own book and I just got really serious with myself. And I was just like, okay, what is really happening? This is pretty fresh. So at the time of this recording, this was just like 2 months ago where I just was just like going about my day and I noticed I wasn't even performing. If I cared so much about performing, I wasn't even performing well anymore because every day felt really hard. Every day felt like my energy was so down. And even though there was so many great things about my job, like I loved my team, I felt passionate about what we were working on. I set boundaries, very important on like which meetings I attended, how long my meetings were. Something was just off. And so one day I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening. I'm not sleeping well. I don't feel good. I'm going to stop shoulding all over myself, meaning like I should be happy, right? I should be satisfied, right? This used to be my dream life, right? I've stopped shoulding all over myself. Stop trying to come up with solutions. And I was just like, enough. We're going to take a break. I'm going to take a day off and let me just exist and let me just be. So for your listeners and your viewers who are like, oh my God, all the things she's saying, I'm feeling, sometimes rest is like exactly what you need. That pause to just let go of all the responsibilities, all the shoulds, all the what ifs, all of it, and just exist. Maybe it's not a full day. Maybe it's just an hour, but it really is important to carve up space to just let yourself be so you can be truly honest. And that's what I did. I was truly honest. I took the day off. And as soon as I sent that message to my manager, to my team that I wasn't feeling well, I'm going to take the day off, it was like a weight off my shoulders. It was like as if I had chains wrapped around me and it just all fell in that one decision. Like suddenly I had energy. Suddenly I was looking forward to the day. I didn't even need the coffee. And Anna, you know this. I love the coffee. Love it. And I didn't need it. And I had to really be honest and ask myself, okay, if I am this happy taking the day off, something is seriously wrong. And was that scary? Yes, because this is all I've known. At this point, I've been in my career for 18 years. I've cared so much. It's all I've known. Really, at least that was the narrative. It's all I've known. And yet I just couldn't deny the truth of what my body was telling me. Like we as a society, I feel like take such stock in what our brain says, our mind, right? We're applauded by that. But really, our body knows the truth. Our body knows. And it's taken me a long time to trust that. But I've been through enough pivots where I'm like, okay, I have been here before. And that was the other thing. I was just like, I have been here before. I have felt this way before. I have felt, like the drag, the lack of energy. And then I have felt the realization of, oh, I think I know what I need to do. And I felt the fear that came with it. And I just reminded myself, I also felt the courage. I've been here before. I have felt the courage, and maybe I wasn't in this place where, I'm considering leaving my corporate job, like, of 18 years. Maybe objectively speaking, it wasn't this scary, but like my body has been here before. I have faced the fear, the unknown, and it's like reclaiming who I am, like remembering all those other times where I said yes to me anyway. And it was the most amazing experience all those times I could have ever imagined. So why not now? Why not me?
Yes, definitely. And that actually relates to a lot of people who work in their 9 to 5 and they feel anxious, stressed, or perhaps overwhelmed, and they don't listen to what their bodies or intuition or the way they feel really telling them on day to day. And I think it's such an important practice for all of us to stop during the day, pause, and really ask ourselves a question. Is it something that is fulfilling for me? What am I doing right now? And why am I doing this? And this is just a reminder for ourselves to check in with what's important and not continue being stuck in that pattern or in a loop, doing something we don't like doing or we don't even know why we're doing that. So, and I see how you realize for yourself that it has to be an ending to what's no longer working for you. And that really started with you becoming aware and present in this moment right now. So what exactly really helped you to become present and perhaps see for yourself that the next step would be just pivot and change the direction? Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, I know that's such a great question. And to your point, like what you said earlier about a lot of times we wait till we're like overwhelmed, And if I'm being honest, I was on my way. I wasn't quite there to super overwhelmed, can no longer function. So I want the listeners to know you don't have to wait till you feel so crappy until you're almost forced into the decision. But in retrospect, how I started feeling it is that I used to start my day like in a pretty neutral or excited state because I know my baseline is like I like to have fun and I like to feel joy. So I slowly stopped feeling that way about my day. And it started off with I started the day feeling like, ugh, like already looking at my calendar. Like that was my first sign. And then it got to the point where even the day before, when I would look at my calendar to prep, it was like my body immediately started to feel heavier, but it was subtle at first. So over time, like, your body will keep telling you the truth until you listen. And it's like a compounding thing. So over time, as the days went by and I kept making the same choice and not, which is to not listen and which is to like keep going to a job that I no longer was aligned with, it kept getting worse. So for the listener or like viewer, pay attention. Have you noticed that like you start to no longer feel the same way you used to in the morning or when you're going at night? Have you been doing this thing called reverse bedtime procrastination, which is when you stay up so late at night, scrolling social media, reading, numbing out because you so badly don't want to go to bed because you don't want it to be the next day? These are some signs that something is misaligned. Now, the right action isn't necessarily go ahead and quit your job. The right action really is to pause, whether it's to take the day off or do something a little bit different from your norm just to give yourself some space to just have a heart to heart with yourself. Like, hey, what's really happening? And so for me, that was the thing that really led to my decision is I gave myself that pause. I didn't acknowledge to myself yet what I really needed, but I gave myself the pause and the space to really just allow like myself to meet with myself. It was like a meeting of the selves, like a heart to heart with me. And during that day, I went through all sorts of emotions. The primary one being like joy and just like a lightness. And from that space, I was like, okay, I want to make a decision from this space, like letting go of what I think I should do, what other people might think, what the right quote unquote thing to do was, what the practical and safe quote unquote thing to do was. What would I truly desire? And because I just let myself be and I gave myself that day to just be, the answer came like, it's time for me to leave my corporate job. And once I fully said, okay, yes, even though of course fear came in, of course, the voices, but the level of like the fear and the doubt was not as big as the joy that I felt like not working for that job anymore. And that just told me, okay, I'm going to listen to my joy. I'm going to listen to my joy. I'm not going to listen to my fear because I know if I listen to my fear and the doubt, I know what the day is going to look like. It's going to look like the previous day or worse. What I don't really know is like, where is the joy going to leave me? Like, I don't know how it's going to look, but I do know it's going to feel much better than where I was.
Yeah, I think we all should really create safe space for our emotions and feelings to be processed on a regular basis. And we're actually the one who can make ourselves feel better. And it should be our priority, really. Our well-being, our health, either emotional or mental or physical health, should always be of our priority, no matter what. Because otherwise, we don't have that inner support that we can provide to ourselves. And this is something really essential for, like, to build a foundation for a house to be seen in terms of like your project, your creative perhaps opportunity that you want to work on, or maybe you transition into a new career or just decided to start a business. In any way, you have to create that strong foundation for that new way of living to be stable, to be all encompassing, to be the way of life for you. And you should really incorporate your unique talents, abilities, or passion, something that excites you, something that gives you this sense of aliveness, sense of curiosity, being a creator, a playful manifester, somebody who really knows what they want and how they can express themselves in that environment that you really provided for yourself, in terms of first being supported from the inside out. Second is always prioritizing your health and giving yourself time and space to feel better, to feel good, to feel excited and inspired, joyful. So you really schedule that time for yourself and know that this is important. And because you prioritize and schedule it, you kind of show the universe that this is important for me and this is what I want in life. You become more clear, and in that clarity, you really start attracting certain opportunities, people next step that will unfold in the process, because you are enjoying this process. You're not trying to get somewhere, but you are in a flow state, in a space where you're just creating something you want and you're having fun doing that, right? Like you mentioned, when you were stuck in that 9 to 5 corporate, even though some of it you kind of like doing, but overall you felt overwhelmed, you felt bored, you felt that it's not what you want to do with your time and your life, right? So if you realize for yourself that you don't want to continue doing the same, you don't want to go to a job that really like drags you down. It's not something you're looking forward to when you wake up in the morning, right? So that should be also a sign for, I would tell other people to really like start paying attention to, because when you're really aligned with your true pure desire or excitement, it would never feel this way. That is like an indication for you to look into what really drives you, what really brings you this sense of aliveness. What is it that you want to start doing? You can start on the side. You don't have to quit your job right away, but at least you have to take steps toward something that will unfold for you, and you will see how you are always supported, and you will see that even without you knowing the whole plan in place, but just making a decision, just knowing this is something I want, and being really courageous enough to start taking steps towards that direction, speaking up for yourself, telling other people, this is what I'm doing, and really be confident in the process. And actually the confidence grows as you start taking those steps as well. So it's just your desire and willingness to proceed with what you think is of your passion, and not waiting for anybody, but really start doing something that you can do today, you can do tomorrow. And those are the moments that really start unfolding your path towards your real passion. And then you start feeling better and better and understanding why everything happened the way it did. But sometimes you don't know everything in the present moment. You just need to have that faith and trust in how you feel as you progress with your idea, with your new project, with your creative expression of yourself. And also, I understand that it could be something scary in a way, because, like everything that's unknown, everything that requires us to step out of our comfort zone. And by the way, comfort zone, it's not really that great to be in. The way it's structured is just like giving you this false sense of safety. You think you're safe in that comfort zone, but really it's just something familiar to you. It's something that you've been repeating time after time, doing the same thing day after day, and you already know what to expect. That's why it's not as scary, perhaps, in comparison to something that you try for the first time, or even considering that idea, especially when you start taking steps towards it. Then you kind of feel like you want it, you feel that desire, but at the same time, it really kind of like scares you in a way. But that's a good sign, really, if you lean towards the excitement of it and knowing that this fear, it will dissipate, it will diminish over time, because it will no longer be unfamiliar once you start taking steps towards that direction. Don't you think?
I just like in training with the adult chair, right? Like, so we speak about there's three chairs that you can think of like parts of yourself, right? Because we're all composed of different parts. Um, there's I'm just going to go quickly over the adult chairs. So there's the child chair, and think of this chair as someone, maybe yourself, between 0 to 6 years old, right? And at that age, your brain isn't fully developed yet. The prefrontal cortex, like, isn't developed yet. So you don't really have discernment. What you do have is your actual feelings, your emotions, your passion, your desires, like completely unfiltered, right? Like, think about a child who does finger painting. They're not thinking, oh, but is it good enough? No, they're just like, I'm doing this because it makes me happy. So there's the child chair, and then the adolescent chair between ages 7 to 26. So this is when the prefrontal cortex starts to be online. This is when the ego starts to get online. And I don't mean ego in a bad way, but I mean ego like the strategies that our brain starts to come up with to help us keep safe. And this is what you were referring to earlier. So this could be things like, it may come up in like perfectionism, a little bit of control freak, which is what I relate to. It's kind of like, what do I need to do so that I don't feel the scary quote unquote feelings of the child chair, right? Like, maybe I don't want to feel the fear. So the adolescent chair is going to be like, oh, for me not to feel the fear, I am going to make myself be a hyper planner so that I feel better. You don't really feel better. The fear's still there. But that's the adolescent chair. It's not a bad thing. It's just there to try to protect you, to try to make you feel safe. And that works when you're younger. But if we don't wake up to ourselves, if we don't become aware, we kind of just live there forever. And so now comes the adult chair, which is think ages like 27 on. And if we grew up with parents who modeled this for us, which honestly, like, most of us haven't, because this is like fairly new, I would say, our parents have done the best that they could. Then we act like the healthy, grounded adult self, which means that, think of it as like your consciousness is expanded and you have space for both the adolescent and the child parts of you. Meaning, so like in my situation, right, I was fully in my adult chair when I decided to take the day off, meaning I let myself feel scared. I acknowledged it, but I also felt the joy and the excitement. And the adolescent part was talking about the doubts, right? Like, what are you doing? You work so hard. And when you're really seated in your healthy adult chair, you just let all of those parts be there. Now, you're not making decisions from the adolescent chair, though. That's the difference. You listen to it and you hear it, give it space, and then you say, no, thank you. We are choosing as the adult. I am choosing to lean into my joy and listen to what my intuition, my heart's telling me, which is it's time for me to quit my job. So I don't think it's a bad thing to see like, oh, this next, like the unknown is scary, because it's true. If you feel that way, there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. I think it's like a both and, where you feel scared and excited. You have doubts and you're excited about the possibility. So it's more like, how do you expand the space within you to make room for all of these things so you can let them go and you can choose from that place, like, where are you going to make your decision from and what are you going to choose to do? What feels right for you?
Wow, yes, I agree. And I feel like we should always be mindful that every moment is presented for us to make a decision, to make a choice. And those type of moments are, countless during our life, and especially day to day, we just don't notice. But every time we're making a decision, and like you mentioned, the imagination and fear, they might be overlapping in some kind of way, but it's just up to you, really, how you're gonna make that choice from that moment, right? Do you think you should lean toward fear, or perhaps that's an opportunity for you to choose differently? Maybe you should really start making a different type of decisions and having trust and faith in what you can accomplish and how you can change the direction of your life by first acknowledging that you are capable of doing that, knowing that once I start taking responsibility and going towards that direction, it's just a matter of time that more will unfold and I will be clear on how it's going to work out for me. But in any way, you should just be really confident on the whole process that you can make that decision, that you can make change, that you are the one that's going to make change for you in this life. And again, just by looking at your life right now, feeling into it, seeing what's happening, you already know if that's something you want or something that you would like to change. And it's just up to you how it's going to work out in the next, let's say, year or two. But that requires you to make a different decision right now and really start paying attention on what that leads to, and really be flexible and know that no matter what happens, you can always reinvent yourself. A lot of times people being attached to the identities that they developed over time with going to certain schools, colleges, universities, perhaps becoming a certain professional type of employee, working for some company for a long time, and maybe playing a certain role in the society. But anyway, whatever been in the past, whatever role you played or career you've been pursuing or profession that you really acquired over time and the degree that you received from the university, all of those accomplishments and experiences are valuable, and it was never a waste of time. But you don't have to be so attached to them to the degree that this is the only thing that you believe you can do in this life, right? Whatever you've been, wherever your role was in the past, you still, in this moment right now, in this present moment, you can still stop, pause, ask yourself a question, and see if you want to continue doing the same thing as you were. Doesn't matter what your perhaps parents or friends or some other acquaintances telling you what are their opinion. It's not their life, it's your life. So you have to decide for yourself. If they are supporting you in that decision, that's great. If they don't, it shouldn't be the reason for you to not go into direction of your excitement, of your passion, of the way that you want to live your life. So you should be always really listening to your own intuition and coming into alignment with your true and pure desire, your vision for life, right? And knowing that it's possible for you, knowing that you're going to be the one starting to make those changes in your life, incorporating new decision, new practices, new way of really approaching things. Because now it's just matter of time because you're looking on long-term process. You know it's gonna take some time. It's not overnight success. But really, it's like you already been through so many challenges in life. And you should always remind yourself that all of that you survived and you became greater or stronger on the other side of it. Whatever the challenge was, it's always an evidence for you to show how strong you are, how capable you are, how empowering you can be to yourself just by looking at your own experiences and the past, not really looking from the point of view of being a victim, right? But from the point of view of being somebody who was ready to handle the change, to handle the challenge in your life, who became stronger as a result of that experience. And now you kind of like went through a lot of time that you were courageous and you knew that it required of you. And now it's just another point of time, even though it's a different experience, but you already know that you can, right? So, and that's the only starting point that you need to believe in yourself. And once you believe in yourself, once you have that conviction, that understanding, and fueled by this pure desire or vision for life that you have, you can be unstoppable, really. It's like there is no reason, there is no excuse for you to not do what you would love doing, right? And mostly people just into doing, but they not taking that step to just be. Once you come to this being or existing space, right? You recalibrate, you realign, you reconnect with who you are, with your values, everything that you want in life, your desires, and that feeling of knowing your own significance, knowing that you're here for a reason, and knowing that you are going to be the one giving yourself that opportunity to live the life that you are meant to live, that you were born to live. Really, the whole point you're here right now existing, right? The whole point is for you to be yourself, to authentically express what are your unique gifts, talents, abilities, but what is it that is so different from other people? What is so unique, so pure, so authentic that is part of you, but also could be applied in a way that serving other people? How can you be of service for other people, right? And at the same time, looking forward to what the next day brings for you because you're so excited and it doesn't really feel like you're working. You just living the life of the true meaning for you, right? So, and that's something that we really have to focus on and keep that in mind.
Yes, that's exactly it. And it started with me creating space for myself and deciding to really listen to myself. Is that's when it's almost like all the parts of me have became like a team or a team. And then rather than my imagination being used to all the ways I could fail, once I decided, yes, this is what we're going to do, it's like my imagination then turned into how could this succeed? And what's the evidence, like you said, to show like in the past that like I've done this before, that I have felt this way before, and that like the rewards were so much bigger than I could have ever imagined, you know? So like I think who was I talking to? Maybe it was you. A friend of mine was saying earlier, again, maybe it was you, about like fear is a waste of imagination, you know, which again, we can acknowledge the fear. That's the child part, but the adolescent part is really the imagination, right? It thinks it's being helpful by giving us all these scenarios in which we can fail. We can, like as the adult, we can tell that part, hey, thank you for your imagination. Let's kind of pivot that imagination instead of all the ways it could go wrong. Show me ways it can be right and give me evidence of other times where I have felt this way before. Maybe I haven't been here before. Sometimes our mind's like, but it's not the same. It's like the feeling then. Like, when have I felt this way before? And show me all the memories in which I succeeded and it was more beautiful than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah, so I feel like we have to know that the biggest cheerleader and advocate here for me is myself. No matter what other people say, I didn't come here to please other people, really. Doesn't matter what opinion they have on perhaps how should I live my life, or what should I be doing, or what kind of business should I build, right? I can ask for their advice if it's something that I'm interested in, but overall, in the end, I have to make a decision for myself. And I'm the one having my best interest at place all the time. All the time. The other people, mostly, they give their opinions, and not all of them have your best interest in place. Sometimes they just, most of the time, I would say there is some other agenda going on. And sometimes they even are scared to lose you because of that process. Perhaps it's some kind of maybe threat for them, and also a reminder for them that they are not pursuing their own dreams and passion. And you are being an example of the person who wants to be true and authentic to who they are. And now you're like a mirror. You're like a mirror showing them, wherever they are, showing those people in your life that I am confident. I know what I want. I know this is important for me, and I know I can do it. For some people, it's really scary to watch. So they would try to really stop you from going forward because they are also being in a way threatened by what are you doing, right? And they make it seem like it's unsafe for you. They will tell you that you should be careful, maybe you should reconsider, and so on. But again, we're here to be our authentic selves, not pretending to be somebody else, not trying to please other people, not wearing those masks all the time. Because what's the point, right? When you're at your deathbed and you're looking back on your life, the way you lived it, the biggest regret people have is not being who they are and really wasting all this time trying to pretend to be somebody they're not. So we should be always aware of the importance of how we're trying to really start living our life, what should be of focus for us from day to day, what should be our priority, and start living from a different place, the place of creativity, imagination, faith. Also, I would say believe in yourself, but knowing that you're not alone, even if you make that decision by yourself, but you are supported, perhaps with something that you may not see, but the whole process will unfold if it's really something you want, if it's really true to your pure desire. It's gonna unfold in a way that you couldn't even imagine. But what it requires from you is make the decision that you want and start taking steps towards that direction and make it feel good for you, feel fun, joyful, excited, so you would continue going this way. It has to be some kind of internal motivation, the reason why you're doing this, and you looking forward to continue being engaged in that process every day and really like make it a priority. So then you start feeling different and you will see what is in cards for you. What is something that really is here to be revealed? And maybe it requires your courage in the beginning to start doing that, but eventually it will just be effortless, really. It's gonna flow on its own, but you have to start that engine going. And being your own cheerleader and advocate is essential, no matter what anybody says. My life, my way.
Yeah, really beautifully said. And the only thing I would add to that is that if you decide later, like for example, my situation, if after a few months I get clear again and I'm like, actually, I miss going back to corporate, like it's okay. Like you don't have to stay in that choice, but you do have to make a choice. And it's more like it's a cycle, right? It's like you get clarity, you make a choice, you go forward, and then you touch base again. Cause I think that's part of the issue sometimes is like when we were younger, like maybe in college, which is really young, you ask yourself, oh, what do I want to be when I grow up? And then like we don't revisit that. I think that's the part that's missing. And so that's the only thing I would add to what you beautifully said, Anna, is like, remember that you can revisit and revise. Like you don't have to stay stuck in whatever choice. So if it doesn't work out, you could always go back, you could refine, you could do something.
Right. And the more honest we are with ourselves, the more really we are paying attention and noticing how we feel at any point, at any moment during the day. You know that if you are feeling off, there's something is happening within your system. It's just an indicator. It's emotional guidance system that's really showing you that you are off balance, that you're off your true center of your alignment with who you are. And the more you're off, the worse you're going to feel. So if you know that this is important for me to check in with myself daily, to notice, to understand what it's shown me, and to really reassess of what might be the reason for that happening and how can I now choose differently and what can I do in order to take step towards the direction of rebalancing myself, knowing that it will bring me a better sense of being. And this is something that is of priority. And I am gonna do it no matter what. This will always be my way of living. So that's something that will help a lot of people to really be mindful of and to integrate in their lives.
Yeah, I totally relate to that because early on in my life and in my career, I didn't understand what being present meant because I thought that the safe thing to do was to plan like 10 steps ahead. But when you do that, you really do miss the gift of like the present and you forget like, well, the why of it. Like, why was this important to begin with? So to your point, I think like if I could have like one or two like key takeaways for your listeners, like the one, yes, be honest with yourself, period. And remember that there's a space between being honest with yourself. It doesn't mean like, for example, 3 years ago, I had 3 years ago, I had the thought of like, I want to leave corporate eventually and soon, actually. But I wasn't at a place to do it just yet because I just started my business. So just because that was my true desire doesn't mean like there's a space between the desire and the end result. We have to learn to fall in love with the process. So like that's the thing. So that is something that helped me become more honest with myself when I realized just because I admit something, it doesn't mean I have to do it the next day. What I do have to do is be honest and then be open to whatever ideas, like nudges that come up, right? Like me saying yes to getting certified made no sense, but it felt right. Or like before this past job, I was in a job that I also was very passionate in, but I was burnt out. And I was just like, if it's true, since it is true that I want to leave corporate eventually, I know that this job, like staying in this job is not going to like allow me to do that. So my next step, the nudge that was telling me, it wasn't to quit my job and go for my business right away. It was find another job that had less hours that you still enjoy. So this is what I mean. Like really just be so honest with yourself and be open to what comes up. You don't have to make like a impulse decision. I'm a fan of bold decisions. I'm not a fan of impulse decision. I think there's a huge difference. Bold is intentional. Bold is like it's scary. I know it feels right and I'm going to do it anyway. Impulse is like coming out of fear actually. Impulse is like, I better do it now before I change my mind. So if I could have just like one key takeaway is like be really honest and make a bold decision, not an impulsive one.
Yes, beautifully said. And I'm so glad we had this conversation today. For those who would like to connect with you online, how can they find you?
I am very active on social media, Instagram especially, so they can connect with me through there. Send me a DM, comment on my content at laura.m.dionisio. And I'm also on TikTok now. It's a fairly new thing. Same username at laura.m.dionisio. And yeah, you can hear all about like what I'm up to. I have been doing free master classes on this content of Pivot. I am launching my career reclamation journey program September 9th. And it's exactly what we've been talking about, except it's a really supportive place so that yes, we're going to require you to be bold and be honest and be so real with yourself. And you're not going to be alone in doing it. You're going to have a group of other people. You're going to have me as your coach. So if you're interested in that, shoot me a DM. I would love to talk about it.
Amazing. So as we close today, what would be the final thought for our listeners?
Final thought, simple but hard to do. Be really honest with yourself on what to do. So as you were listening to this, as I was sharing my story, Anna was sharing hers, what came up? Write it down. And that's it.
Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy your day.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.